amazing viewers. Thank you so much for joining me on my program once again. I appreciate you wherever you are connecting from. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please kindly subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you so much and remain blessed. Whenever you look my video, whenever you watch my video, share the video to all platforms. Share it to family and friends. Share it in your WhatsApp group so that people can get information on what is happening in the contraption called Nigeria, mainly against the Biafrans, against the Duduas, against the indigenous people in the contraption called Nigeria. I try as much as possible to set the record straight. I don't preach hate speech. I don't speak against people. I set the record straight. The only important thing I do here is to make sure that the plight of the people remains on the front burner and the world will know the true story of what is going on in the contraption called Nigeria. Remember, they will always change the narrative. The government will always try as much as possible to use the conventional media to change the narrative, but that I will not allow. In this platform, we'll set the record straight and we'll say it the way it is. Not preaching hate speech, not by talking down to anybody, but setting the record straight and bringing the information to the front burner and letting the world know the exact situation of things. Each time you watch my video, you can equally go to the comment section, put down your comment, say it the way you feel it. It's so welcome. You can criticize if you so desire, but do it constructively so that we can be able to learn from one another. That is why I'm here. And now, I'm going to share with you a very important video. I hope after watching the video from the beginning to the end, you're going to enjoy the video and you continue to stick around and be able to enjoy the rest videos that are going to be coming your way from time to time. Thank you so much for coming. Today, the video I'm going to share with you is a very important video.
Everyone, now let's get started with our first line of conversation. Some state governors are not happy with the Attorney General of the Federation, Mr. Abubakar Malami, and the Inspector General of Police. The crux of the matter is this. There was a face-off in Lagos where the governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, had some kind of confrontation with a mid-level police officer after a standoff where a team of police officers besieged Magodo Shangisha community in Lagos on an assignment to enforce a court order over a land dispute. The officers, led by one chief superintendent of police, CSP Bimbola Oyewole, refused the governor's directive to vacate the estate where they had purportedly gone to effect a court order. Governor Sanwo-Olu had asked the policemen to vacate the area in order to de-escalate a potentially volatile situation following a Supreme Court judgment on the ownership of some of the lands on which the estate was built. Take a listen to the governor at the scene of that event.
It's just a very difficult one to start a new year like this. And it's because of the importance that we see to all of the misinformation and lack of proper information that I had to take up this assignment myself. When the first attempt, as in coming to the resident association, coming to the estate, happened about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, before the new year, I indeed intervened. And if you remember very well, the action was immediately, halted, and there were no incidents again. And throughout the festive period, we had started communication, right? So one of the things I will first understand is, both the residents, they are my subjects, the people that have gone to court, they are my subjects, even the police themselves, they're also my subject. So I have the responsibility to ensure that fairness, equity, is entrenched. Everybody has one role to play or the other. The people that had come said they were on Supreme Court judgment, rightly so. The residents that are living here also have proper title, and they have the means to live here, and of course the Nigerian police. So in the car, I've spoken extensively with the Inspector General of Police, the Honorable Attorney General, and we've resolved all of the issues. So what we will see is there's going to be a total stand down.
Well, that is the governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, when he was addressing some of the residents and some of the police officers. Earlier, before that statement, that particular situation where he was talking, it was assumed that the governor had gone to make a call to the IG, which he has also said. He also was assumed to have made a call to the AGF, the Attorney General of the Federation. his counterpart in Ondo State and the chair of the Southwest Governors Forum, the governor of Ondo State, Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, has condemned what happened and said that that is unacceptable. We're probably calling a question on the issue of the powers of the state and the powers of the federal authorities. Well, the action at Magodo appears to be a rude affront to their powers and the territorial authorities of the governors. But the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mr. Abubakar Malami, has reacted to the incident. Mr. Malami, in a statement from his media aide, says the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice takes exception to the Southwest Governor's unjustifiable insinuation of impunity against the Office of the Attorney General over execution of a judgment of the Supreme Court. The role of the executive is, in this respect, simply to aid the maintenance of law and order in due compliance with rule of law arising from giving effect to the judgment of the apex court of the land. Let it be known that the issue is regarding a Supreme Court judgment that was delivered in 2012, long before the coming of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration in office at the time when Malami was not a minister. The judgment was a reaffirmation of the judgment of Court of Appeal and High Court delivered on 31st December 1993. There's always been a debate on with the parts of the central government or authorities and the state governors, and the issue of the fact that the governors will tell you that they are the chief security officers of the state. Whatever happened in Shangisha, well, we understand now that the state governor in Lagos, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has offered to compensate those original owners or those who are the benefactors of the judgment from the Supreme Court of about over 500 plots of land as compensation based on the judgment of court. Now, the crux of the matter is the powers of the governors, the powers of the authorities at the center. Is there a clash? Where is the distinction in all of this? It will happen in the future. It has happened before. It is happening now. Let's get to the matter on the focus yet again. It highlights the jurisdictional conflict of the federal powers and the constituent units, the very fundamentals of our federalism. Let's take a look at another matter, which of course it's generating a lot of reaction. Perhaps some people have clamored and agitated for it. Now it's happening. It is now official. All bandits in Nigeria, whether operating in the bushes or forests or anywhere in the country, are now terrorists and must be treated as such. Yesterday, the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation released a gazette prescribing bandits as terrorists in Nigeria. Remember that on the 25th of November 2021, that is last year, a federal high court in Abuja declared the activities of all bandit groups in the country as acts of terrorism. So last night, Mr. Gwandu, the Attorney General's spokesperson, announced the release of the gazette. Part of the court document reads, and I quote, "Consequently, the general public is hereby warned that any person or group of persons participating in any manner whatsoever in any form of activities involving or concerning the prosecution of the collective intentions or otherwise of the groups referred to in paragraph 1 of this notice will be violating the provisions of the Terrorism Prevention Act 201 and liable of prosecution. The notice shall be cited as the Terrorism Prevention Prescription Order Notice 2021. So what does this mean? The implications for the fight against the killing of innocent citizens in the northwest and other parts of the country by these so-called bandits. So let's get a perspective to this one. We have a rounded treatment to it. We have a military officer's point of view, and of course we have a politician point of view, a federal lawmaker who will also be joining the conversation. I have joining me a retired military officer, Group Captain Sadiq Shehu. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
It's a pleasure having
It's good to see you. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Same to you.
Are you happy when you heard that officially these bandits are now being declared terrorists?
Well, I am happy, but I am cautiously optimistic.
Why so?
Yes. Experience has shown that proscription of a group could have positive impact, but at the same time, that positive impact is not assured. What proscription does in essence, I think the advantages of prescription are more legal criminal than necessarily operational. I like that last statement you read. It is warning, if you read it carefully, it is not warning not the bandits, but anybody who may support the bandits. People that take information to them, people that give them logistics, or people that do financial transactions with them. That is what it is doing. So what prescription does is to tackle, the crime at the lower level. What it does is to put an additional stigma to what these people are doing. What it does is to make sure that whoever aids or abates the action of these people has also by extension committed an act of terrorism.
Is that helpful
It is helpful.
to the cause?
It is helpful to the cause, but in the way that it does not automatically, it's helpful in the cause, like I said, illegal criminal. Because now anybody who, these people that are saying that they have informants, it means you're informant, you're already a terrorist. If you carry logistics to them, you are a terrorist. But where I say cautiously optimistic, I see the tendency of people thinking that in terms of operational, in terms of kinetic operations, that is why I say we have to manage expectations. It may not necessarily translate into, our military or our police crushing them.
So, I mean, for you as a military person and your military background, so when people were clamoring that they should be prescribed, you didn't think that it was the most important thing?
Well, again, I
think it was just political?
I slightly differ with most people here. Prescription, you saw in Nigeria, we all have a way of looking at things in a binary way. North, South, Muslim, Christian, you do one here, you have to do one there. Now, the beauty of democracy is that the politicians, they have to pander to what the people want. There is no doubt the call for the proscription of the bandits was a popular call for whatever reason. In fact, even the National Assembly, I hope the National Assemblyman, they joined. Proscribe them, proscribe them, proscribe them. But we, as people who study operations, we have to detach ourselves and ask, what are the likely concrete advantages of that proscription? There was this, whether, it is a perception that in the case of these bandits, government is foot dragging. In fact, that's what I don't want to mention people that said after much foot dragging. So already that debate has been thrown, that the government in this case does not want to proscribe them. But there are differences in the case of IPOP. This is, by the way, this is the third time that we are triggering the Terrorism Prevention Act by way of proscription. The first one was IPOP, 2017. The next one was the IMN, Exposition Group, in 2019, and then this one. But, a discerning observer will see when you talk of IPOP, there is no doubt you are talking about a group that has come out, that has members, people willingly join, and they are recognizing themselves as IPOP. The same thing when you go to IMN Exposition Group. Anybody in Zaria or elsewhere knows who are the members of Exposition Group. There is no question about that. But when you come to this, motley group, I would say a motley group, because in all honesty, in all, investigations, it will be a stretch to say that the bandit in Zamfara is affiliated or the same as the bandit in Sokoto, the one in Kaduna, the one in Niger State.
So from the operational point of view,
yes,
you don't think there is a link between the bandits operating in Sokoto and the one that is killing, those ones that are killing and kidnapping our young people in Kaduna?
The point I'm making.
Is there any linkage?
The point I'm making, you don't have that link like you have from somebody who says he's an IPOP member but is in Nigeria, an IPOP member who stays in the UK, or an IMN member who is in Kano, who is in Zaria, who is in Kaduna. All those ones are linked. The point I am making, the bandits themselves, when you look at funnily enough, some Hausa words were used in the group that we are listening. Mbindiga and Eta Ada.
What does that mean?
Well, you see, I'm not a professional interpreter.
But you're a speaker.
I'm a speaker of that. But you see, interpretation from one language to another, it needs, skills more than just ordinarily speaking the language. The word used is Mbindiga and Eta Ada. If we want to be, practical, we ask, is there any group in Nigeria called Mbindiga who have accepted our name is Mbindiga? Is there any group in Nigeria who call themselves Eta Ada as opposed to IPOP, to IMN. You get what I'm saying?
So
you have
Mbindiga, I
yes.
mean, whatever you call them now.
Yes.
There is a group of these bandits, isn't it?
Mbindiga, what it means, it's, well, I don't know, some Hausa experts, even though I'm a native Hausa speaker, might argue with me. Mbindiga means anybody holding a gun. I think that is the simple explanation I will give. Of course,
I'm bearing
person who is doing it, not part of the official
security,
legal bodies.
That's non-state actors bearing arms.
So what I am saying, when I looked at that prescription, we are still having that problem of what group are we really dealing with. But again, like I said, politicians being politicians, this is democracy. There was a wide clamor, ban them, ban them, ban them. So in that, I think the government has acceded to what people want.
Right.
But as a practical, military operational person, I interrogate.
All right. So because I want to take you to the intelligence area.
Yes.
So because the reason why our invitation to you is strategic.
Yes.
So it's not for nothing. And for our viewers who are watching tonight, they might be able to take note of a few things because you're not just a flippant speaker. You are a very thoroughbred who is well trained in the Nigerian army. You also have links to the intelligence community. So I'd like to know, like Boko Haram, we have the ISWAP, we have the native Boko Harams, we have those ones that have links with foreign entities. These bandits, intelligence that we have presently, are they coordinated?
That is the issue. I want to believe how I see the bandits. Like I said, I will call them a motley group of people. You come, I come. I also want to believe, apart from, we know the men, there are some that have become very notorious. You will hear of Dogo Gide, you will hear of Dank Aremi, and all those ones. But apart from all the other underlings, the way I see them, they are like criminals for hire. Dogo Gide may have an operation. He will pass the information around the network. We want to hit Kaduna. People will come. And then when they operate, again, they disband. You get the point? So the problem with this bandit, why we ended up with Mbindiga and Ta'ada, is that, like I said, the government, with due respect, I think the government acted on the pressure.
Of the time?
Of the general public. I mean, proscribe them, including the National Assembly. But like I said, as practical people, we have to ask. I have told you, of course, there is a legal advantage you will have. Because like you said now, before this prescription, you wouldn't say somebody who is an informant is a terrorist. But by implication, he is a terrorist.
From yesterday evening,
yes,
it is now.
Somebody who gives this in. But again,
Captain, yes. I'll take you to another ramification.
Yes, thank you.
Don't forget, in Katsina, there was something the governor said, which was very instructive about, when they shut down telecommunications. Yes. The same thing in Kaduna, the same thing in Sokoto, how they coordinate their activities in such a way that they were speaking to natives and using the natives to perpetrate this evil. And they would have spoken to them long before they start their operations. So whether or not that prescription will help to cut off that communication, we'll see how that pans out because you are the expert here. We'll take a break, everyone. Up next on the program is the implication of the prescription of these bandits. Will it help in stopping their acts of killing, kidnapping our schoolboys and girls in their school, and dousing the tension in the Northwest? Group Captain Sadiq Shehu is still with us, giving us a sense of the benefits of his knowledge and understanding of military operations. And of course, we'll also be speaking with the federal lawmaker, Honorable Tajuddin Yusuf, who joins us from Dallas in Texas. Stay with us, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us on a day like this. Our heart goes out to those who have lost their loved ones to the activities of bandits, either in the Northwest, in the North Central, any part of the country at that. And today we're reviewing or looking at the efforts of the federal government based on a clamor by some Nigerians and the National Assembly in prescribing these bandit groups and calling them the name that they really are, terrorists. And so what does this mean? And tonight, we're giving it a treatment in which we think might help you as a citizen, wherever you may be watching, to have a sense of judgment and take the right action or decision as a citizen and know the right path to tread in this conversation. Group Captain Siddiq Shehu, a retired military top officer, also who enjoys a lot of knowledge within the intelligence community, and he's being our guest speaking with us right here from in our Abuja studio. And right there, virtually, from Dallas in the United States and state of Texas, Honorable Tajuddin Yusuf is a federal lawmaker, member of the House of Representatives, one of those who are spoken to before now on this same subject and said, look, it's needed that the federal government prescribe this group. Thank you so much, Honorable, for joining us. Before I come back to you, Group Captain, let me get Honorable into this conversation. How does this come to you for someone who had spoken up about this matter and the need for the federal government to tag these bandits as terrorists? How does the news come to you, Honorable? All right, I think we'll be able to fix the possibility of us getting to hear the federal lawmaker and him being able to hear us here in the studio. We'll do that in a moment. But let me come back to you. So I was going to ask you a question. Telecommunications were shut down just before because of these bandits and their operations in Zamfara, in Katsina, in Sokoto State. And the reasons the government gave, or the government of those states gave for shutting those gadgets down, was because they were communicating using those telecommunication devices to perpetrate the evil. And we understand from what the governors were saying that they use the natives, the locals, to do this. So now that is in the past. Now we are in a new regime under this situation of these bandit operations. What is the difference and what is the implication of those natives and those locals?
Those natives, I think one of the reasons given for the shutdown is that they had informants among the community. This banditry, certainly, is a local problem because most of the bandits are indigenous of that area. So they get their information from informants that are there. So that was one of the reasons of cutting communication so that they cannot communicate. Now, before this proscription, we may say somebody who communicates with bandits, maybe not necessarily carrying the gun himself and committing the kidnapping or the killing of the people. Even if he's caught, I think he will be treated as an ordinary criminal. But what this proscription does, that is the legal advantage I am saying. What it does now is that if you read the Terrorism Prevention Act, if you do anything to support a group that has been declared terrorist, automatically you are a terrorist yourself. So an informant now is not just an ordinary criminal if he's caught.
Or someone acting in ignorance.
Yes.
Because there is no ignorance in law.
No ignorance in law. He is not just a simple criminal. He is a terrorist. So you see, that could serve as a deterrent. Somebody maybe might be able to take the risk of being called a criminal, but maybe he doesn't want to be called a terrorist. So there is that deterrent, that's the deterrent value of this declaration.
And also, there's being interface between these bandits and some authorities on issue of negotiations on the release of for ransom of for those who have been kidnapped. Under this climate now, this new situation, this gazette and the prescription, has anything changed in that scenario?
Well, if you are thinking that whether further communication between government agencies and the bandits in terms of getting negotiation is prescribed, honest, I don't know what the legal implication is for that. I would rather you ask me, from the practical military point of view.
I'm going to come there. I'm going to come to that.
What is
the reason why I'm asking
is
that
yes.
I know, for example, that there is a policy in the United States, not to say the government of the United States do not negotiate with terrorists.
Okay, I get the point here.
So the point I'm making is that there's been negotiations with these bandits. They've called them for them to lay down their arms. We've seen mediators. We've seen intermediaries. We've seen those who say they've gone to the forest to meet with them. So in this case now, they were criminals before, but now they are terrorists. Can anybody boldly say they want to negotiate with the terrorists? Is it possible?
Well, I wouldn't go as far as to say that, because you gave the example of the United States. The thing is that the United States, on its own, as a government agency or somebody acting on behalf of the government, is not allowed to go and negotiate for the release of somebody. But even in the United States, unfortunately, due to the unique nature of terrorism, you cannot stop friends, well-wishers, families making their own efforts to secure the release of somebody. I don't think there's any country that has actually outlawed that part, but they recommend against it. They advise against.
So the reason why I'm asking
Yes.
is because there are still some innocent people that are being kidnapped and in the den of these bandits. And we understand the communication between families, parents of some of these people. They are communicating and asking them to bring money and ransom. What is the implication for some of these parents?
Well, the implication...
Because you said earlier, they under this prescription climate, you cannot, if you are seen as either as an instrument or as a whatever way that you are being caught communicating with these people, you'll be seen as aiding and abetting a terrorist.
No, my understanding, communicating is in two ways. Communicating to pass them information that soldiers are coming this way or they're coming tomorrow or police are coming. That is the kind of... There is even a section on communication, passing extent of communication. But let's be realistic. For a family that their member or their breadwinner has been, caught, the communication is not necessarily to assist the bandits in their work. The communication here is for them to get the release of their breadwinner. So I don't think it's the same kind of communication.
Great.
Yes.
It's good for you to clarify that for us. I'm going to come to the operations on the field.
Okay.
Whether or not we can use, for example, our Tokeno aircraft to fight these people. I'm not sure that was possible before the prescription. Whether or not anything has changed with the prescription. Let me quickly go to Dallas with Honorable Tajuddin Yusuf. Thank you so much, Honorable, for joining us tonight. I was asking you earlier, unfortunately, I understand that you couldn't hear me, but let me go again. How does this come to you for someone who had on the floor in this studio clamor that these bandits should be declared terrorists, and now it is official, they are terrorists? How does that information come to you?
It's a welcomed information. I really been looking forward to it. I'm not comfortable with the United Nations Western World Policy on arm usage and what have you. If you recall, 2014, that was how the United Nations stopped us from buying some equipment from Israel because it was alleged that would be used to fight people that are not supposed to be confronted with such equipment. And that frustrated the effort of the then government to fight terrorism. They had to resort to using machineries and buy from black market. That was where the scandal about money going to South Africa came from, because they were going to buy black market. I feel that this was too delayed. The people you are dealing with are not bandits. They are pure terrorists. And I want to really emphasize this fact that most of the people who are now working with them effectively are not originally from Nigeria. So they have no stake if this country is pulled out. So the delay, I am very sure, has affected us tremendously. I don't know when the government applied, but I think it's coming to be rather late. However, it is better late than never. So I want to see the government raise this activity in combating terrorism by deploying this equipment effectively. Else, we'll have ourselves to blame, because they are getting emboldened every day.
You heard what Group Captain, I'm not sure, I don't know if you heard him, that for those on the field, operation-wise, this prescription is secondary as far as they're concerned, that it might mean in some other areas of fighting these guys, it might mean something else, but for them, practically speaking, it's more or less a fundamental political decision pressured on the government of the day. For someone who is on the field, who understands the operations firsthand, how do you react to it that, well, the federal government has yielded to the clamor of the people and of the National Assembly, because we've heard much of the clamor in the National Assembly?
So I didn't hear you clearly, but if I understand, you're saying that the gentleman in the studio feel practically it might be of no much effect. I beg to disagree a bit. I was with the Army Committee of the House of Reps that visited the 1st Mechanized Division in Kaduna, and we sat down with senior military officers, and we were made to understand that the inability of the Air Force to deploy his might as a bit slow down the activity of the land troop, that it should be a combination of both air and land, but that they've not been able to deploy the firepower that is expected from the Air Force. By implication, that if the Air Force strike a place, the foot soldiers go in there and make sure that the remnants are either captured or totally exterminated. So I want to believe that it's a welcome development, that this equipment will not be life-following. The first instance, the first thing is that we do not buy this equipment as things should be kept in the armory or kept in the archive or kept in the museum. It's supposed to be deployed, and we bought them because of this insurgency. So I want to believe that it will do a lot if we deliberately put the right strategy in place, the right information about their location, and be precise in our attack. We should not deploy this thing to kill innocent civil people by bombing the wrong places. So we should gather enough intelligence, and we should work with the locals to let them understand that, hey, this is not doing any good, because a lot of the locals, unfortunately, do not see the bigger picture of this situation. So I want to believe that based on the little information I had in our encounter about 2 months ago with the 1st Mechanized Division, that this is a welcome development.
One area that I would like yourself and Group Captain Shehu to weighing on is the reaction of President Buhari when we asked him in that exclusive interview on how to end this insecurity in the country, especially in the Northwest. And he spoke about the visitation of some of the governors to him, and he was relating to the role of the traditional rulers, the traditional institution, and the third tier of government, and what role they should be playing in identifying these criminal elements. Because, I mean, as far as the president is concerned, these problems are local and should be dealt with. The House of Reps held a security summit. Now that the federal government, on its own, the executive, has gone ahead to prescribe, that is a movement. It's part of some of the things that you told the federal government to do. In terms of what the president raised, the role of traditional rulers and the third tier of government, what is your own view, Honorable, in this respect?
With due respect to Mr. President, I beg to disagree a bit. You cannot be providing information effectively when you are not safe, when your own safety is not guaranteed. I want to make you understand that a lot of our traditional institutions or traditional rulers are under severe fear and threat. Some of them pay taxes to these terrorists so as to survive. So we've not effectively provided the right security to guarantee safety that will make them act the way we expect them to act. And I sincerely want to appeal that we must not reduce these security issues to politics as usual again. That was the error that was made in 2014, when certain individuals who are now in government, were in opposition then, went about, telling the whole world not to sell armament and equipment to Nigeria that we're going to use to fight opposition. And that registered in the mind of those people as reason why they hesitated a bit. And we must understand one fact, that nobody will market you effectively better than you. When this government came into power, because there is so much propaganda that went in, during the election. And when people talk these days, they say PDP has not provided the right kind of opposition. I said, no, it should be a responsible opposition. We should not play politics with security. It should be a opposition that draw line when they come to issue of insecurity. We must understand that we must have a nation first before politics. So the traditional institutions, yes, have not been doing what they do, but we must understand that how can a man who has no army of his own, who has no enough policemen to secure his security? I'm aware of some of my colleagues whose family members provided information to the security agents, and the Boko Haram came after them and killed them. So how is the national allowed to take that kind of a risk? I think we are just kind of blaming the victim if we look at that route. Yes, there's need to provide effective, rule for the traditional rulers so as to be a kind of a center point, so a focal point of activities in the local areas. But however, have we provided the right environment? No. As at now, that's why people complain about kind of federalism. What we have is unitary system of government in the name of federalism. What we have is that the center control and absolutely dictate what happens. So how do you now say a man who derives his power, who desires legitimacy from a governor who relies on the center for everything, to now go into and begin to exhibit those tendencies and attributes that we're used to? We must then go back to the drawing board and deliberately allow them function effectively by providing the right environment. How much are we being able to assure your rulers? Have you bothered to even ask how much is their salary? That's what they depend on goodwill, and unfortunately at times they have to compromise their integrity in the attempt to survive. So if we genuinely want them to play a role, we should find a role for them in the constitution deliberately and provide them the necessary equipment, right environment and condition required to be what we want them to be. So with due respect, I think that we are blaming the victim if we say traditional rulers has failed. They can't do more than they are doing.
I want us to anchor on the issue of how to fight them. Let me come back to you into the studio. Group Captain, you are the expert here. And give us a sense. We have to Kano. We have the firepower. Governor El-Rufai suggested that we should take the fight to these guys in the forest, bomb their enclaves, destroy their hideout. Is that easy? Can we now use our Tucano aircraft, our firepower, to take out these guys? Is it possible now?
Well, you see, that's why military or security experts talk of unconventional warfare, asymmetric warfare. It is really difficult to fight. I've listened to Governor El-Rufai, and with due respect to him, I heard him say maybe there is something I don't know, me not being a soldier. I heard him saying that phrase, which is very, very responsible of him. Bombing a whole area, destroying all the bushes might sound plausible, but it is highly impractical. Not only impractical, there are dangers inherent there. Just like you said, the president said, this is a local problem. These people are embedded, just like the Boko Haram in the north. They are embedded with the people. It is possible, once in a while, to get an enclave where it is all bandits. But it's not always like that. Now, for example, we know some of them have victims that they have absconded. Let's put ourselves in the shoe of a family who has 1 or 2 people with the bandits, and then you tell him you are coming to obliterate everything that moves. Well, it may be good on the nationalism, but for the individual family, that may not be a good thing. On the issue of the Tucano, the issue of the Tucano is a very complicated case, which started right from the negotiations of the contract. And again, it is linked with this proscription. Now, let me start with the proscription. Proscription has an element of sovereignty in it. What do I mean? Almost every country does its own proscription process, and it applies to it. I will give you examples. We proscribed IPOP 2017. I think a month or even a week after that, the United States Embassy here in Nigeria said they do not see IPOP as a terrorist group. It is there on paper. So what does it tell you? The proscription of an organization or an individual by one country is not automatically binding on another country.
So that we bought the Tucano from the U.S.
When we
doesn't mean that we can.
Yes, because some people are equating it.
Do we need to take permission from the U.S. before we use the Tucano?
Again, that is why that issue is at the negotiation of the contract stage. Like when you are taking a loan, there is something that bankers do. They will put some things in
Terms
very
and
tiny,
conditions.
but in very tiny writing. You will see that what you are collecting from the bank very bold. You are collecting 1 million. But
what
the other
it's tying
charges,
it is
that's why the white man
the
will
terms
say,
and conditions.
read the small print. In that contract we signed for the Tucanos, the Americans believed they have, you remember, we have to go, when you talk about Tucano, you have to remember that we started looking for Tucano as far back as 2014. To be honest, at 2014, we didn't have bandits. Our major problem was Boko Haram. And the people that started negotiation is with Boko Haram.
All right.
Now, let me complete.
No, because we need to close in 20 seconds.
All right, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. No, please go ahead.
So the point is that I do not see it. Maybe some people see it, that automatically because we subscribe the bandits, then we can use the Tucanos. What I would say, it's going to be a continuous conversation bilateral between Nigeria for this, because the declaration of the bandits here in Nigeria is not binding on the United States, but we may look for their cooperation and their understanding. So for that,
and that is the reason why we brought you here tonight, because there are a lot of perspectives. It's deeper than a lot of things that a lot of Nigerians can see on the surface. But many thanks for coming tonight, Group Captain Sadiq Show. It's always a pleasure having you, the kind of knowledge and insight that you share every time. Thank you so much indeed. And Honorable Tajuddin.
Thank you so much for your patience to watch from the beginning to the end. I hope you have learned something from the video you have just watched. The video you have just watched is to bring information to your doorstep and for educational purpose. It is not to demonize anybody. Let us watch continuously and see who can be able to make a sense out of every nonsense we are seeing. We must continue. We move. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what they say. They will kill us. We will kill them. At the end of the day, Biafra is here. Thank you for watching. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please kindly subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell so that you're notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you, and remember this. Bye-bye. See you again.